Netflix has the narrative, I think, feel free to disagree, but Netflix has the narrative slightly off. Or I could say Netflix has the narrative half the story. And I don't like that. I don't. No doubt, Jerry Jones is the face of the Dallas Cowboys. No doubt. There is no other face. His presence, I would say, is bigger than the on-field product. And now he is the focus of a new Netflix documentary, which is, it'll be good. It'll be laid out in a compelling way. I'm just telling you now, I think it's only doing half the story, half the narrative. Because with the Jones era, the Jones brand, there's two parts. And I'm starting to think, no, I'm convinced, see if you agree with this, that the off-field Jones brand is overshadowing or almost hiding what happens on the field. Now, he's going to love this. He will. Jerry Jones is Trump-like in the belief that media exposure is just crack. It fuels him. They're both the same. They go through withdrawal without a camera in their face. And so it energizes him, it fuels him. And I think it's only tell half the story. I think that's ridiculous. The Netflix is about him. And you know this, his presence, his overall narrative, and everything about him, I think, obscures the product on the field. It obscures a lot of things. He's only half of the story with the Dallas Cowboys, and somehow, some way, he's become 95% of the story. The Netflix storyline, from what I can tell, is going to portray Jerry Jones as the ultimate gambler. It's going to do the drama thing. He's going to be portrayed as a big risk taker that hit it big. And I don't think that's entirely true. I'm not even sure that's half true. If you want half the story of the Jones brand, yeah, he's hit it big. Yes. He's interesting. But there's a big difference between, now follow this, there's a big difference between Jerry Jones, the owner, and Jerry Jones, the general manager. One took big risks and hit. It was a home run. The other is conservative and boring to a fault. The general manager, Jerry Jones, is not very successful. In fact, it's pretty awful. So and it's going to be, of course, the timing of this is precise. I assume, I don't know. No, I think we figured out the smart play for Netflix, and that is the documentaries do as well as the shows, and they're probably a third of the cost. So Netflix is diving headfirst into these documentary things, and they're good. They're well done. I just think I think the Jones stories are going to be obscured by Jones, the gambler, Jones, the businessman, and forgetting about the product has been really bad because he's really bad at his job. And nobody ever likes to say it. Here's the trailer.
The road to a championship is never paved smoothly. It's always paved with peaks and valleys.
This is a soap opera 365 days a year.
Texas is football country. The whole in Texas Stadium so God could watch his favorite team, the Cowboys.
When I bought the team, I was Darth Vader.
Dallas fans aren't happy.
Last year, they were 1-15.
I said, Dad, I don't know anything about running a football team. And he looked me in the eye and he said, neither do I.
We were gambling my family's whole fortune, so I had to take risks. And it started with Jimmy Johnson.
Get part of this, Fred. Asthma, Mike. Get over there on that other field and have some asthma.
And he made practice hell so the game is heaven. We were ready.
Showtime.
All of a sudden, it was a runaway train.
Oh, baby.
Everywhere we went, they were icons.
We played hard, and then we played hard.
With that success, but you also get disruption.
Police officer came to me.
And they pulled the gun. Open the door right now.
Jerry is that disruptor, that innovator.
You're not much of a gambler unless you're going against the popular trend.
No one ever thought Jerry had the guts to fire Jimmy.
You don't know half the stuff that was happening. Playing for the Cowboys is different.
The most valuable sports franchise in the world.
No matter what they say, they can't prepare you. You just got to experience it.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about this, Cowboys?
We do it our way, baby.
Well, that's great if you're above the age of 45. There's a generation that only knows that they're lousy, mediocre at best in football. I mean, it's like talking to your kids about the Raiders. If you're above the age of 45, you grew up with the Raiders and they mattered. See, they were a cool story and they did things differently and they were iconic and legendary. And then they disappeared for 30-something years. They were terrible. I mean, yeah, those were interesting stories, back in the 90s. That's the half of the story. It's amazing to me. I mean, the only thing people hang on to is talking to Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman, and that gang. That's it. So, look, there's Jerry Jones, the owner, and what people forget is there's Jerry Jones that runs the Dallas Cowboys. One is a genius. I mean, you have to give him props. And one is close to incompetent. The owner of the Dallas Cowboys is an interesting character with a lot of flaws. That part of the documentary, his story, has plenty of content. I mean, a year doesn't go by in which there's not a Jerry Jones off-the-field controversy. There's always drama. Again, media is cracked to him. He's that Trump-like figure. And the last few years, it's been in a paternity suit. So the drama of Jones, the owner, is always over the top. I mean, that's a reality show that gives and keeps giving. All that's true. The owner admits he didn't have the money for the Cowboys. And he buys them for a laughable $189 million. The owner took a risk on a college coach. All that stuff is true. The owner convinced taxpayers to build him a Taj Mahal. The owner went for it and turned a $189 million play into a franchise that's worth $12 billion and maybe more. If the Lakers are worth $10 billion, the Cowboys might be worth $20 billion. The owner is a good story. The owner is drama. The owner is exactly what people want to watch on Netflix. A lot of fun. He plays into that landman role that he did a few episodes ago perfectly. All that storyline of the owner and drama is all true and can be packaged and put together and make for relatively entertaining viewing. The football part is not any good and it's boring. Jerry Jones, the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, is not very good at his job. And I don't know how anyone even argues that. The general manager story of Jerry Jones, the guy who runs the team, isn't interesting. It's boring and pretty incompetent. Look at it this way. And I think most people that have been around understand this. But I feel like there's a whole generation that's thinking, what's the big deal with the Cowboys? Why are people still talking about them? And I would say you're interested because he's drama. The football part has got no star power and hasn't had for decades. If the owner of the Cowboys wasn't the general manager's boss, the general manager would have lost his job a long time ago. Think about that. If the owner wasn't the general manager's boss, that general manager, whoever been running this team, the way it looks, the way it performs, the resume of that football team is awful. That general manager would have lost their job a long time ago. The resume is obvious. I don't have to tell most people, but every time you see Michael Irvin, every time you see Jimmy Johnson, it feels just like yesterday. Well, unfortunately, it's not. Nobody in the sport, except maybe in Cleveland, would keep their job with this record. Okay? There's a giant difference between the owner, the drama, and the football operation. The football operation is pretty incompetent. Tell me I'm wrong. It's been 30 years since the Dallas Cowboys have been to the NFC Championship game. Okay? 30 years. That is the longest drought in the NFC. I said the longest drought in the NFC. That's behind teams like the Bears. That's behind the Panthers. It's behind even the Cardinals. Organizations that don't get Netflix documentaries. They don't do anything. And guess what? The Cowboys are just like them. They don't do anything. They don't move the needle in winning and losing very well. All franchises with total turnover every few years, but not in Dallas. You take a look at the Bears, the Panthers, the Cardinals. I can go down the list. Washington, even. They have total turnover all the time. General managers would never last with those franchises producing the kind of numbers that are produced in Dallas. Think about the general manager who owns this record, okay? This is the general manager. The guy runs this team. For the first 30 years of the Super Bowl era, Dallas made the NFC Championship game 16 times. Okay? In the first 30 years of the Super Bowl era, they played the championship game 16 times. They haven't played in a championship game. They haven't played in one. And I don't know anyone with any kind of brain thinks they're even close to one anytime soon. There's old school in terms of running a football team, and then there's Jerry's way. It takes old school and it goes 10x. It's arguably, I'm not sure it's arguable, but the biggest brand in the sport has been irrelevant for 30 years in football. So, I mean, I don't know how the sex appeal and the drama of how the old man sounds and the things that he says. I'm a big risk taker. I'm a big risk taker. No, he's not. He's not. You know how I know he's not? Because take a look at his coaching staff. Take a look. What kind of risks are those? It's a succession of complete no-names in coaching. Other than Jimmy Johnson and Bill Parcells. And it was the end for Bill Parcells. And yes, Jimmy Johnson was a risk. Buying the Cowboys at 189 was a risk. Does anyone know the brief moment of success the Cowboys had under Jerry Jones running them? I'm not talking about the owner who tells a great story and all that stuff and drama. I'm talking about the person that runs that franchise. You know, I don't even think we fully appreciate what a small window that was. And it was one trade. One trade made a 5-year period for the Dallas Cowboys that still to this day everybody talks about. Netflix is talking to the old guys, talking to some of the new guys. They're terrible. They're terrible. No, not terrible. They're just meh. One deal. They made a trade. While Jimmy Johnson was the head coach, they made a trade of Herschel Walker. I know it's laughable now, but it gave Dallas, in essence, it gave them a 4 to 5 year run. The Vikings traded away just about everything, you know, because they're stupid and their general manager got fired. They traded away a bunch, and Dallas smartly gobbled those picks up and went on a Super Bowl run. True. Then the guy behind it leaves, and for 30 years on a field, they've been completely irrelevant. So the only head coaches that he's hired that anyone, think of this, ask yourself this question. And it's amazing. I guess the story of how cool things were and how risky he is just, it dominates the storyline. But somebody answer this question. Of all these coaches that he's hired through the years, how many of them has any other franchise wanted? Who else wanted them? Name one. And you would say Jimmy Johnson. Bill Parcells was at the end of his career. Jimmy Johnson was it. That's it. And it was a short run in Miami, and that's it. The dude's been running the franchise for more than 30 years, and you can't name anybody else wanted. Bill Belichick is on the market, and he hired a guy that's never even been a head coach. And all of this is because of a little 5-year window of one trade And then the guy behind the trade, the mastermind behind the trade, leaves, and take a look at this franchise decades later. All I'm arguing is, I mean, yes, he's an interesting character. He's fun to laugh at. He's fun to laugh with. It is full of drama. He is Trump-like in his media obsession. He's always accessible. All that stuff is true. He is owning a $20 billion franchise from 189 is fascinating. But that's not the full story. He's run that team. It's his. Every decision is his. And for 30 years, you can go dig up all the Michael Irvin interviews you want. And man, they were really impressive in the mid-90s. Does anyone interviewed present day? It is on the field a completely nondescript franchise. They have a high-paid quarterback because, well, Jones is old school and you just do that. A high-paid wide receiver, and the product itself at best is meh. And it's completely hidden. Don't you feel like that? The measurement of the franchise is almost completely hidden by the drama of Jones himself. The story of Jones himself overshadows the product.